Welcome to Subtle Propaganda. I'm Drew, coming to you live from the volcano that will one day destroy us all. Joining me is Three Circles Mike, who has no idea what a Venn diagram is, Integrity Joe, who's late in light, and Rob. We will be talking about pop culture, world news, politics, military culture, fight videos, and the general state of the union. Are we charlatans? I don't know. You decide. Oh, and remember, like, subscribe, and share this podcast with your friends, and don't forget to tell us how wrong we were in the comments.
What's up, everybody?
Going on?
Yo, we are here. Dude, so I know that we talked about making a new intro. I tried listening to it. What are the deets on it? Are we using the new intro on live as well?
No, just
for the recorded. Okay, sweet. I was just curious. Yeah, when did you record the new one?
The new and improved. 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago now.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
fuck, it's a long time. Okay. So everybody listening, check out the intro. Pay attention. Rewind it. Go back, listen to it. Let us know what you think.
A lot of work into it. All right. Lots of writing, rewriting.
good. Definitely, I like it.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm gonna listen to it after this. Sorry that I haven't until now, but yeah, I was just curious about that because I caught like the tail end of it and it sounded similar, so I didn't know if you kept like a lot of the same stuff or
Oh
if you
yeah,
switched it up a
it's
bit.
got a lot of the same stuff. It's the same music and all that kind of stuff. I just tweaked the intro a little bit, like the content.
Bitches do.
Keeping the didgeridoo.
We
Perfect.
kept
A little
the
bit
didgeridoo.
longer
It's
now.
still there. Yeah, it's longer.
But it's a little bit better because
We got the guitar. We got the didgeridoo. I think there's even a flute or something in there. Pan flute, if you will.
Pan
Yeah.
flute.
Yeah.
and food.
Well, I'm out of midterms. My life is better. I'm happy it's Friday.
Yeah, both of you guys are done with midterms, right?
Thank God.
Halfway there.
So stupid.
So close. Dude, remember how last week I told you about how horrible my week was because I had to take 4 practice tests in 5 days?
Yeah.
Well, at least I took the right practice. So like I took the wrong one, first one, but that was just an extra one. I didn't have to take that one, but I just took it for funsies, I guess. But there are straight up people in my class that just didn't even take the test they were supposed to, like for their course diagnostic one.
Really?
And so
Wait, they just showed up without having taken it?
well, I guess they took a test and they're like, "Oh, well, I didn't take this one." And it was just like,
Jeez.
yeah, it's just so funny to see the teachers just be like, or the instructors be like, okay, well, I mean, you know, I guess this ruins it for you, but like you could still come to the class or whatever." But yeah, you're not gonna get a whole lot from it because you're just gonna be reading a passage for the first time. So instead of reviewing
Yeah, that's
them,
weird.
yeah. So
What? How did they do that? They're just lazy or overlooked it or
dude, I mean, you can tell. I mean, how many people like we went to boot camp, right? Like, remember your recruit chart where you had to write there was a box that had your initials, and then next to the box it said RDC's initials. And when I was the yeoman in boot camp, I would have to do this. I would go, "All right, everybody, take your pen, put it in your right hand," and then of course you get a guy raising his hand, and you go, "What? What if I'm left-handed?" All right. Well, if you're left-handed, put the pen in your left hand. And they go, okay, is everybody see the box that says your initials? All right. Point to it on your page where it says your initials. Now have your neighbor check and make sure that you're pointing at your initials box. All right, everybody done? Okay. Take your pen and write your initials in the your initials box. And then they go, okay, is everybody done? All right. How many of you wrote in the RDC's initials box? And sure enough, 5 people raised their hand. Like, how is that even possible? That's how that happens. Because people
There's
can't
always
follow
one, bro.
simple directions. Just can't do it. It's too
That's
much.
always one rule, bro. You know you're always fucked, man. They're like, if no one fucks it up, you guys are good. And I'm just like, just drop, because somebody's gonna fuck it up every single time. Never
Yeah,
fail.
of course, every
Dude.
time they're like, "Yo, man, you owe it for all 5 of those people that fucked up." Like, god damn it.
The advancement exams are the worst, dude. Fucking worst when they made you fill the Scantron like a 5-year-old. Just like, I just want to take this test and go the fuck back to bed. And you sit there for 20 minutes with, all right, everybody, fill in your name, first column. Everybody done? All right, second column. You're supposed to be leading people. Can't fill out.
Mm-hmm.
Not gonna lie, dude. I think I've fucked those Scantrons up before too.
I'm
And
not
still
gonna
got
lie.
promoted.
Not gonna lie, when my first one I took in college, I was like waiting for somebody to walk me through how to fill it out. I'm like, wait, someone's not gonna tell me exactly what to do. I gotta like do it on my own. Like, what? I have free reign on a Scantron? What's going on
You're
here?
institutionalized.
But what am I
Right?
supposed to write in period?
Yeah.
I don't know what to do.
What if my name's too long?
I don't want to tell boot camp stories, but all night. But I definitely had like one of the most exceptional people I've ever met. He was from Texarkana, Texas,
Oh,
and he would stand across from me. He used to clean truck stop bathrooms before he came into the Navy. And he would stand across from me, dude. And he straight up looked like a Texas Chainsaw Massacre type of dude. He'd stand across from me during inspections, and his nose would just fucking run down his face during the inspection. Oh my God, it was so gross. I cringe to this day thinking about him. And like, there really is a place for someone in this world, for everyone in this world, you know? Like, my God, dude, I never saw anything like it, dude. So I'm just dying inside laughing about it right now. It's so weird. I used to stand across from him and it was literally like watching TV, you know, like it was a comedy, but it was also like I can't laugh, you know what I mean? Like you have to be like maintain your bearing. So like inside I'm just dying, bro. Just wanting to laugh so bad. Fucking weirdos, man. There were a lot of them though.
It's like the guy that puts on his dress blue shirt backwards, and you're just like, and you just have to stare at him. You're just like, we're all gonna pay for this, dude.
Dude, I remember the folding your bed or making your beds, dude. Like
Smiley
how that
face?
turned in. No, just how that turned into like a workout / hazing. Just make your bed over and over and over again, and just
Yeah.
like a minute. All right, where's your hospital? How did it's just like how did you more annoying than when I used to have to do it as a kid? You know.
It was honestly the most boring experience ever, dude. All I did was get sick and like be a little confused and like didn't really see the sun for a while. And then they were like, all right, you're now in the United States Navy. And I was like, all right, cool. Sounds
I was there in
good.
like February, and it was get up, go like work out at like 5 o'clock, then go sit in classrooms all day, make my bed 100 times, and then 2 months later, they're like, "All right, you're do this like capstone thing where you're on a ship all night and you have to stay awake." Done.
Oh yeah, I remember that. I forgot about that. That was so weird. You're like
the
crawling through, it's like
Hollywood shit.
the
Yeah,
Hollywood
you're like
shit, dude.
the ship floods
So
and it's
weird.
got cold water, and you're like, "This is great because now I'm awake when I'm half asleep."
Yeah, that like remember they're like if you want to sleep, you take a fucking knee on the deck, and it's just like that non-skid, and it's just
Yeah.
metal, and it is just like a form of torture on your knee. Like I mean, it'll wake your ass up for sure. I'll never forget like when we were doing that, they were doing roll call, and my good buddy Rouse, they get to his name, and the guy just goes Roos, and he goes Rouse I, and the guy just goes Roos, and he's just like Rouse I, and the guy just goes fucking Roos, and he just goes Roos I. I was like, this is gonna be fun. It's gonna be a good one.
Trying to get the last edge.
Yeah, he was not gonna get corrected. Not taking it.
Yeah, I don't know. I found the whole affair to be pretty boring, but
Congratulations, you made it.
I met some hilarious people, dude. Saw some really gross shit.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Just fucking
Always.
very weird. Very weird. Yeah, that the people were by far. They made it very funny. They made it very funny, that's for sure. But yeah, I'll never forget that dude. Texarkana, Texas, dude. Bastards. I wonder where he's today. Shout out to him, dude. Hope he's doing well.
He's probably a Master Chief now.
No, probably, dude. You're probably right. He's
Like boatswain's mate, Master Chief, something like that.
yeah, exactly.
Tie
God, dude.
the shit out of
Terrible.
knots. Yeah. Hey man, it's complicated, dude. I don't know how to tie into that shit anymore.
Yeah, I only still know like I don't know, 5 knots, 6 knots. They're all like the basic easy ones.
I think I can do the muscle memory. How to do them. My eyes are just like how if you used to have like a combination black and high, it was still
Oh yeah.
art, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I hope I never forget this because I don't remember what it was. My eyes, I can get it.
Paper that told me.
Yeah, I don't know. I remember most of the knots, but I spent a lot of time tying knots for, you know, one reason or another. But so I remember most of those ones that I got taught, but I don't remember learning any like that early in the military. I only learned them later. But
they just teach you like the basic shit, like the hitch knots and like the square knots and the bow line and then I forget what it's called where like it's you have to do like that special wrapping where like you twist the knot around like the cleat for mooring a ship to the pier.
Oh god, yeah, I don't know. Thank God I never had to learn any of that shit. Like know any of it.
Yeah, I mean, never set foot on a boat, so it's completely
Exactly.
wasted on me. Or I guess they would call it a ship. They'd get mad at me. It's not
Yeah.
a fucking it's not a fucking boat.
Whatever.
Oh, okay, cool, whatever. Floats in the water, right? Fucking boat. I know.
Always called it.
Yeah, I mean, but what you were on was more like a fucking city.
Yeah,
Floating in the water.
carrier pretty.
Yeah. Yeah.
The line to eat
1,000
hour long, like just kind of fucking.
sounds fucking terrible.
Wrapped around through.
Jesus.
Yikes. Yeah, no thanks.
How often do you guys get resupplied? Jeez.
18-hour working party.
Oh my god. Fuck that.
Fuel was like 8 to 10 hours, and then all the supplies and
What was the fuel for all the vehicle, like all the like aircraft and stuff?
no for us.
Oh yeah, duh.
That shit was from like
Damn.
1970.
Yeah,
Either up and just because I would do the Corman cover just so I could get out of work.
for
And so
sure.
it literally like stone's throw from the other ship just an hour or something. You got the helo passing shit, or then you have a big ass like line passing crates over.
Did anyone ever get like
Everybody's
super
ammo.
fucked up doing any of that?
Yeah, not on mine,
you
but
treat 'em?
on other shit. No, I didn't. It wasn't on my
Okay.
ship, but another ship that was in our party. And we
Oh.
had a couple instances got smashed by crates when they were coming up. Biggest thing was people falling down ladder.
Mm. Yeah, I mean you can break your back doing that for sure. The stairs are hard and steep.
We had a big old engineer pass out down there. The ladder walls are like this.
Yeah.
45 degrees, and we had to literally. I had to like literally. They had ropes on each side, guys pulling them up, and me underneath, like walking up the ladder while like bracing him as they were going up 4 ladder wells to get heavy. He was literally unconscious. Get him up the stairs.
Yeah, dead weight.
That's
What are you talking about? All of America's fighting force is fit and thin, ready to fight. All of them.
Yeah. Yeah, fucking right, dude. I think that's probably going to be one of the biggest problems that we have here in the future is we got too many fatties. Won't be able to get a good enough standing military up. But
Yeah,
see how
I don't
much
know. I mean, no, I thought the height and weight standards were fucking stupid when we were in. I mean, you would have dudes that were in ridiculous shape and they would like tape their necks and stuff and be like, "You're out of standards" or whatever. You know what I mean?
yeah.
But like you'd have like plainly these guys are fat. Like plainly, like you look at them, they're plainly fat. And they're like, "Oh yeah, you could swim your physical readiness test or whatever the fuck it was." You know, it's like, I don't know,
Bike, you
whatever.
can do
It's
the
dumb.
recumbent bike or whatever.
Yeah, whole thing's really, really stupid. And it's like designed for people that are higher ranked to like have some type of edge in making sure that they could pass it like by the bare minimum standards. Gross. At least like on the regular Navy side.
Oh yeah,
It's fucking nasty.
blue water Navy, full of a bunch of can't do nothings or broken nothings.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's par for the course, right? Like, I mean, you're recruiting huge amounts of people like in a revolving door, you know, like par for the
Right.
course. You need people to like put fuel in trucks and like, you know, do that. That's like what everybody doesn't get. They think like I always wondered too, like where we got this whole thing in our head that like everyone in the military is like a big Rambo.
everybody's a door
when,
kicker
like-
and he's going.
Yeah, like 99% of dudes are just, you know, like not just, you know, they're doing important jobs, you know, they're fueling planes, they're fucking doing administrative work, blah 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 blah. But certainly, yeah, not.
It's the it's the Hollywood like, you know, effect of, you know, everybody's a killer and everybody's a fighter, you know. Everybody's doing the
Same
badass
thing.
shit.
Right.
Same thing with if you're a veteran, all of a sudden your weapons like have this ability to talk about like firearms because
Well, Well, it also I think it also stems from the military culture itself. Like the reason why America had such a tremendous fighting force, like especially in World War II, was that we could take your everyday regular Joe and turn him into like a fighting force ready dude, like gonna like go, you know, island hopping with the Marine Corps in like 8 weeks. Like you could take him, you know, when he's 18 years old in 8 weeks, he's ready to go in there and fight like, you know, this warrior class of Japanese, you know, army that had, you know, been training for, you know, nearly 2 decades, and we could do basically the same thing they could and crush them.
Yeah, well, I think like excuse me, when it comes to like raising a standing army like that, I mean that's what you want to do. Is you don't want to like take people and then like fatten them up by giving them desk jobs, you know what I mean? It's like those guys, they got pulled in and they literally like, here's this potato, throw it. All right, that's like throwing a grenade. Here's what a gun feels like. All right, get out to the front line, you know? And dudes do it. You know what I mean? You give them some marksmanship training. And even, I don't know, like I read, like, have you ever read Lieutenant Colonel Grossman's books on killing and on combat?
Yeah.
He talks a lot about this, where, you know, the psychology that went into the training, you know, like back then using bullseye targets versus using silhouette and man-sized targets, and like what types of differences they got in how many people would actually fire their rifles. I guess like I didn't know this, and I don't know how they know this. Grossman doesn't like expound upon this, but like he talks about how you know, like lots of studies had been done that showed that there were dudes that just straight up hit the beach but didn't shoot a bullet. They just literally hid the whole time, you know? So I think there's like a give and take where you get like, you know, 18-year-olds, you toss them a gun and they'll go and do the Lord's work. And then, you might have dudes who are scared and don't, depending on the training that you give them. And then if you keep them and shack them up, they get all fat and lazy and gross, and it becomes basically like another form of welfare.
Especially if
But
you
yeah.
market the military as like get education, medical, stable paycheck, and the next thing you know is like you have everybody coming in the military for not military reasons, but just stability reasons. Therefore, they don't want to be in shape. They don't want to do anything that's not, the same job they could do on the outside. But then
That's
part
a
of
big
the
point.
reason why everybody's like gets it like misconstrued that everybody, if you're in the military, you're like with the combat or an infantry. No, majority is just doing the same jobs that you do in the outside, wearing a uniform. Medical, cook, admin, CEO, administrator, finance, whatever, same shit. Lawyer, doctor.
Boring. I don't know. I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with it, incentivizing people to go in. But yeah, those guys were the worst to work with because they had no loyalties. They're just like, I'm here for the fucking paycheck, and I can't wait to leave. So tough to work with
Whereas
people
my
like that. But
college, my benefits, but I don't want to do anything. I'm not going to the. I
yeah,
don't want to.
Staying for
Yep.
20 to 30 years. It's like my full retirement or a retirement.
Yep. What else you guys see interesting on the news?
As I say, speaking of military stuff, we just bombed the fucking shit out of Syria.
All right. Well,
I mean,
you guys said it wasn't a big deal, so tell me your thoughts on it. If you think it's not, let's hear it.
I don't know. I didn't look into it that much, but I was like, oh, he bombed somebody, bomb people all the time. I don't know why it's a big deal that Biden did it over everybody else. Some target that I didn't understand that we hit, but it was bombing bad guys. That's what we do.
Well, I think it's like the big deal is the hypocrisy. Like, Trump's a madman, with the button. He's going to start a nuclear war somewhere. Or he's going to start a war somewhere. I mean, like what he's doing with they point out like what he's doing with Syria, where they're heightening tensions between us, Syria, and Russia, and like all of us playing off of one another. And then Biden goes and actually does fucking bomb the shit out of them when Trump was pretty fucking reserved as far as conventional forces in Syria.
Well, yeah, I
He
think
dropped that one big bomb in Afghanistan, and everyone lost their mind.
well, he bombed Syria once early in his campaign. He bombed an airfield, or not in his campaign, early in his. It was like halfway through, I guess. Actually, come to think of it, which I guess I don't know, early, late, whatever, doesn't matter. But about halfway through, he bombed Syria once, and then he killed an Iranian official in Iraq with what I suspect was probably a hypersonic missile, but no one's ever told me. I wish I was that cool to know, but I think that stuff's kind of
Salmani or
sweet.
whatever his name.
Yeah, Salmani. But no, I think it's a huge deal, dude. I think it's a big deal. We don't normally bomb Syria. We haven't normally bombed Syria in a really long time since the Obama administration. And so to strike out against Iranian-backed proxies in the region via an airstrike 2 months into your presidency or a month into your presidency, it kind of also just it has this optic that where I think people are starting to kind of finally recognize, like, oh yeah, Obama and Biden, their administration, they did say they were going to close Gitmo, and they didn't. They did say they were going to get us out of Afghanistan, and then they surged the troops. They did say that they were going to end the wars in the Middle East, and then we ended up at war with Libya, Syria, etc. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I think it's a big deal. I don't want to be like overly dramatic, but I mean, it is once again, just executive overreach. We're allowed to just the president was never allowed to just like start pushing buttons and like knocking people off. Like that was never a thing until very recently, like very
That
recent
was
history.
that was the 9/11 report, right? Gave him
Yeah,
that ability.
well, I don't think that anyone really ever gave the president that ability. Like the president is allowed to authorize like direct strikes. Um, like for instance, dude, like think about it. Like when the whole fucking who was that guy? Captain Stevens or Roberts or whatever, the dude, like when and SEAL Team 6 went in and shot all the
Oh,
fucking
O'Neill.
O'Neill. No. O'Neill. What do you mean? No,
That's the
that's the
guy.
guy that shot bin Laden. I'm talking about the piracy thing. Where
Oh,
they captured the dude. Look at me. I'm the captain now. That guy.
yeah. Captain
Anyway,
Phillips.
there you go, Captain Phillips. My point is like if you can imagine, like, so Obama had like a set of choices, and he actively chose to take like a precision instrument and then go fucking kill those guys. Like there were probably all types of stuff. Or all types of options on the table, and he actively chose to do that, right? So, like every time that a president does this, they have a plethora of options that are made available to them. It's not like their staff comes in and says, "Hey, sorry, Mr. Trump, sorry, Mr. Obama, whoever the president is, there's only one way out of this, and that's to drop the bombs." So they're actively choosing to do this, and they're doing it independent of congressional authority. So, I think that's what kind of makes it a big deal, but that had become kind of more and more a regular occurrence, as people were less and less aware of like the things that we were doing, whether it be in Africa, the Middle East, etc. They became numb to the fact that we had been at war for a decade plus, and they just stopped paying attention to that, and they didn't give a fuck. They're like, oh, whatever, dude. He dropped a bomb on some guys. Oh, go America. Those were bad guys, So
Right. And it's all like optics or perspective too, because I mean the same exact decisions were made for the Bin Laden raid. Like they could have taken him out in a plethora of different ways, but they sent in a SEAL team instead to deal with him instead of dropping a cruise missile or something on his compound and like
I
trying
think
to
Leveling the whole.
yeah.
I think on that accord, it's like you need to know he's dead, right? And the
Right,
only way to do it is
exactly.
to get a BDA like on site, and
Mhm.
you're not going to get a BDA from cruise missiling him in Pakistan, and you certainly don't want to shoot missiles into Pakistan because that might be overstepping your bounds. You can get away with it in Syria because it's basically the wild fucking west, like no one owns it, right? Um,
Mhm.
so yeah,
Plus,
I
it's
don't
a lot
know.
more.
I
It's
thought
a lot better to ask for forgiveness about a little raid versus launching missiles and blowing up shit.
Well, it's funny that you bring up the ask for forgiveness thing because that's another big angle of it is that, this is supposed to be the presidency, coming after Trump, where Trump was supposed to be the president who was incapable, excuse me, of working with other governments, of working with other officials, right? He was just this big pompous asshole who couldn't really, be worked with. He's the "you're fired" guy. But Biden was supposed to be the dude who could work with our enemies and our friends to try to come to some state stability, right? He gave Bashar, who is the leader of Syria, at least the recognized leader of Syria, he gave Bashar 5 minutes notice based on what the media is saying right now. 5 minutes notice before the strikes occurred. So, that's another big angle where, you're starting to see some of the fiction in front of the administration. And I think this happens with every administration, right? Like, they all have this in some form or another, but that's why I thought this was a big deal. But
Yeah, the mask is starting to slip. It's a pretty good
Mhm.
point because yeah, Biden did make his entire campaign made a huge emphasis on, he's a uniter of people. He's going to bring the country the healing that it needs to recover from the pompous divisive asshole that was Trump, you know. It's a really good
Right.
point.
But yeah, so I thought that was a big deal. I mean, and you kill some Iranian backed proxies. They said it was the same guys who shot rockets at our dudes in Iraq. I think they killed like a dude or two
Put a
a while back.
contractor.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, they shot some rockets at him. Um, I mean, dude, it's a huge proxy war. There's a million people that have a vested interest in what's going on in Syria right now. The Iranians, pretty much the entire Arab world, the Russians, the Chinese, us. Everyone kind of has a little finger in the pot, so to speak. But I mean, I don't know, dude. Google a picture of like Aleppo. Google a picture of Damascus. Like they've been at full scale war. First, it started as a civil war. You know, they've been at full scale war since about the 2010 timeframe. Like, I don't think we really need to bomb them anymore. Like, if you look, it literally is just a bombed out fucking wasteland. You know, like the place has been leveled. There's nothing left to bomb. You know, so you're literally
Germany
dropping.
post World War II. Rubble.
It looks terrible, man. Yeah, take a look at it. It looks really bad. It's and it's like the same thing, you know, always been my critique of places like Afghanistan, where, you know, it's like you take a bunch of operators, whatever unit they're with, and you fucking put them on this fucking multi-million-dollar aircraft. They're wearing multi-million-dollar kits, you know, or at least close to it, you know, $500,000, $600,000 worth of gear on each guy. You know, they've had millions of dollars spent training them, millions, right? So you load up, let's just call it, let's go lowball, and we just say 30 million bucks. You just load up 30 million bucks on an aircraft and you fly it to the middle of fucking nowhere to go roll some dude up that lives in a fucking tent in the middle of nowhere, dude. In the middle of literally nowhere. And they're like, "Oh yeah, we heard him talking bad on a cell phone." It's like, really? We just sent 30 million American dollars to the middle of the desert to roll a guy up in a fucking tent? You know, like what the fuck's the point of this?
He might have been a threat, Rob. All right.
Exactly. So it's all really dumb. And I think it's the same thing. It's like, okay, you guys, damn, you guys got him. You got a couple Iranian backed proxies. Nice job. I'm sure there's not 10 million more. But yeah, exactly. Like I don't know, whatever. It's sending strong messages. They're not afraid of getting bombed, dude. Like they've proven that. We've been bombing them into oblivion for fucking 20 years.
Yeah, I was like, I don't think they're worried about it. Like, pretty much got it down to, they just know it's coming, you know? Like,
yeah, they don't even care when they teach a bomb making class and they blow all themselves up in the class.
Yeah, then inshallah.
Yeah.
You know? But like I heard this trope once from a ranger buddy of mine. He was like, "Yeah, man, like I was in Afghanistan and you know, I had you know, going and seeing these village people and village elders all the time. And they have all these Afghan war rugs, right? Drew, did you ever see them when you were there? The Afghan war rugs. Mm-hmm. They're like
tapestries.
They're like these big tapestries. And literally, bro, for thousands of years, you know, the Afghans are big warrior culture, right? They're hill people. They're unconquerable. The last person who ever conquered them was Alexander the Great. You know, they're difficult people to beat up. You know, they live a hard life and they're not fucking around. They will fight to the death, right? So like they have these war rugs. They've been making them for thousands of years, and it shows them on horseback. It shows them with swords and, you know, all that stuff. And now, ever since like the 2000s, now they make their war rugs with little pictures of drones on them that drop bombs, like little bombs. And it's just like, I don't know, the trope was interesting to me, like it impacted with me, because it's like, dude, for thousands of years, these people have been painting and, you know, or just not painting, but like weaving these images of themselves and their enemies fighting. And this is like, you know, this is normal to them. They're okay with this. Like, it's okay. They pride themselves in it. They're like, oh yeah, the drones keep coming. Like, that's fine. Like, look, we're making our war rugs. Like this is what we do. This is our life. This has been our life. This has been our life for 1,000 years. So it just kind of like resonated with me that like, there's just no way to beat people like that. You know, like if you shot me, I wouldn't like take a picture and frame the gun, you know, like that you shot me with. It's like, I'm not interested in that, you know, like please keep the gun away from me. I'm traumatized, but you know, for them, they're, you know, it's a symbol of honor. So, yeah, they're just, I don't think that these people are very concerned about bombings.
They just they just adapted to it, learned how to get around it. And now that'll be interesting. Like in the future of the evil West portrayed as just a drone, you know?
Yeah.
In their culture.
They have nothing to lose either.
Oh yeah.
I mean, other than lives, which I'm sure, you know, it's important to everybody, but like, you know, it's costs way more for us to go in there and do that than it does, you know, to disrupt their poppy farming or, you know, their heroin trading or whatever it is they do.
Well, that's what I was going to say is like 30 million to roll up that dude might give you information on something, right? But then you send 20 or 100 million to gender studies in Pakistan. It's like, yeah,
Well, it's not.
we're kind
I
of
mean, it's not even that. It's like even worse. So, like, say you get a true believer, you're not gonna get him to tell you anything. You're gonna have to send him to Gitmo. There, you've spent God knows how much money on the facility at Gitmo, and however much it is you're gonna spend on the people that you taught to torture this guy, and then you have to house him, feed him, give him medical attention, and he's still not gonna give you any relevant information.
No, dude,
X
that's
amount
so
of time
true.
later, like whatever he even knows anyway is no longer relevant anymore. So
what is it
No,
normally
you're
like?
100% right.
You have less than maybe a couple weeks of actual intel after you capture somebody. After that, it's like kind of hit or miss if you get anything from them, and then you're housing them forever. You're never gonna let them go, but you're never gonna try them. You just got a permanent resident that you're paying for and taking care of.
yeah.
You know?
Dude, I'm pretty sure like I'm not an intel guy, so I don't know. I'm pretty sure that within 24 hours, dude, maybe even less, when someone tells you something like human intelligence, within 24 hours or less, that's got to go up in smoke. There's no way it could last weeks.
I was
You know what I
thinking
mean?
weeks would be structural, if that max. Like any actual intel that have like movements would be
Right.
24
Okay.
hours. But if you had any like structural intelligence of like, hey, there's a camp here that's got like a training base, that might take a week to relocate, or
Yeah.
something. But that's on the strong end because yeah, I have heard that it's like if you do wrap somebody up, that's why all the safe sites and black sites are like they make sure they're within like 24 hours from where they're going to swoop somebody so that they can, get that initial intel from them before they do bring them to Gwen. Because it is
Well,
tangible.
I also agree with Drew, man. Like, with if you capture one of these guys and you toss him in Gitmo, like you guys remember the Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, the dude who was a mastermind behind 9/11 alongside Osama bin Laden.
Yep.
Dude, they waterboarded that guy 200 times, and he basically would just tell him anything they wanted to hear. Like, he wouldn't tell him anything like of value. They're like, like, tell us what you know. And he's like, I'll tell you anything you want. Like,
Yeah.
whatever you tell me to say, I'll say it. You're
Yeah.
waterboarding me, and like, but none of that stuff is valuable. Like what's he giving up? He doesn't know where Osama bin Laden is or like any, these guys they're not fucking idiots. They they compartmentalize information. Like they're not complete morons, so yeah, I think it's crazy. You waterboard a guy 200 times, you get nowhere with it. And like Drew said, that whole time you're housing him in Gitmo. He's going on trial, like here in Southern Manhattan, dude, at like, at a federal court, that all costs money. Like, really?
Right. And
Maybe, I guess maybe bombs are cheaper. I don't know. It's like,
right. It turns into like it turns into a positive feedback loop. I mean, it gets out of
yeah,
control super quick because it's just like, okay, like you're now at this point where, you do have Khalid Sheikh Mohammed. You've tortured him over 200 times. And it's just like, okay, well, we put all this shit into him. Like, we got it. Like, okay, we have to show something for it. Right. So,
exactly.
just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. And it's like, oh, maybe he'll lead us to somebody else that can get us information. And it's just like,
Leads
You
you
know
down the whole
what's,
path of like, what do you do with them? You can't just kill them, right? You
we
capture them,
just
then
put
you got
him
to
in
spend all
there
the money,
forever.
then you just
We
pay
just
for them forever.
We just put,
Mhm.
dude, that's all we do. All those guys in Gitmo, you think they ever get out?
No, yeah.
No.
Well, unless you get traded
Unless we
for
do a prisoner
Bergdahl,
exchange.
yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
it. Prisoner swap.
that's it. Unless it's a
Which
prisoner swap, bro, they're there for good. They're there to
which
stay.
if Biden's anything like Obama, that should start happening soon. We love because the Obama campaign or administration love trading prisoners of or trading the people that we took in the middle of the night and exchanging them for prisoners of war. That's how Bo
You know,
Bergdahl got out.
I'm not like so when Burr all right, so I will draw a distinction between the prisoners we exchanged because those were high ranking like Taliban officials, that we exchanged for Bergdahl,
Hmm.
who was, in my opinion, just a fucking traitor anyway.
Hmm.
Or at least if not a traitor, just a straight up idiot. Which whatever, I guess, both kind of make you a bad dude.
They're
But
not mutually exclusive.
yeah, thank you. But yeah, like I think sometimes like swapping these low level dudes that you don't like, all right, like the dude you roll up in a tent and then you take him to some site and you interrogate him. And then he goes, yeah, I was just like arranging the dowry for my wedding. And like, I think you guys are just confused. And then come to find out, like, he's right. Yeah, fucking, what am I going to do now? Like, I already got the guy at fucking Gitmo, like, fucking trade him. He's worth nothing, kick him
Right.
back home. So, like,
I
I
was-
think there's also kind of like a balance there.
I was gonna say that I
Yeah,
wonder if there's a PR balance between like, or you already bled him dry, or like his intel's bad, or it's like, like those 4 dudes that maybe that was traded for Bergdahl, they already bled dry, or they realized their networks were dead, or they just kind of threw him back in there with some type of debt around him, and they're like, we'll see, because we're not getting anything from him anyways now, so we'll see if we can get him somehow by following him and we let him go. So maybe there is an angle that way.
I think from a human side too, man, like, like you got to imagine that like when they let those dudes go, they probably followed those dudes every fucking day of their life.
There was a
You know what I
dedicated
mean? Like
drone over those dudes.
oh my God,
Sure.
dude. All day, every day.
Yeah.
But two things I wanted to say though. So one weird thing about Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, it reminded me when I brought him up. Do you guys know that he was convicted of the Daniel Pearl murder? You guys know Daniel Pearl, the journalist who was beheaded in Pakistan?
Yeah.
This was when we were real young. I think this was like 99 or something. We
I
were pretty
remember
young.
this. Yeah.
Dude, he got convicted of that murder through vein matching technology.
What?
So because all you could see was his hand in the video, when he was cutting off Daniel Pearl's head. And they convicted him through vein mapping on the backside of his hand.
Holy shit.
Really?
Do you guys think that that's bullshit? Like, do you think it's just made up? Like, I felt like it
like-
was totally
I
made
don't-
up.
It's like
I'll-
it's like blood splatter analysis.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like just some bullshit, like total bullshit. Like what science is that? But I mean, I don't know, whatever. Maybe they needed something to stick. And I'm sure they had other evidence that he was involved in the Pearl kidnapping and killing. But I mean, dude, like vein mapping technology. I don't know. That was one thing I was gonna bring up. We could talk about, and then the other thing was with drone strikes, and also something I was gonna say is like they're how they can be effective and yet also not effective at all. Like I told Mike about some ISR footage that I saw where a dude got hit with two. He got hit with two 500-pounders and he walked them off.
Yeah.
He walked off two. I mean, he was fucked up for sure and probably died shortly thereafter, but he was up and moving around after two 500-pounders. So, I mean,
That's part of the problem, though, right? With the drones, too, is like, because the one, they leave people alive, or they kill the wrong people, and the people that are alive are the bad guys, and the people that are dead are the family of the bad guys, instead of vice versa. So it's like,
and then you just make more
it's-
terrorists. You just
yeah.
make more dudes that are with the cause now.
it's like, it's kind of like that argument of like, the drones are good because they take American lives out of the equation, right? Go in, drop a bomb, no American lives at risk. But then at the same time, that bomb gets dropped, and then you have the time where it doesn't kill them or it kills the wrong person. Where that's where kind of the human aspect of it hopefully can minimize that. But no one wants to put human lives at risk, especially in this day and age. Kind of warfare, easier to drop a bomb. Hope it goes good.
I think it was just less headlines, man.
Right.
at
That's
that
what
time.
it is. It's
Yeah,
like the
I'll-
worst.
yeah.
Like you don't have to worry about, it going if it goes sideways, it doesn't cost as much, or like there's not as much human capital, at least on our side or the American side, at like the wrong end of it or whatever.
Or worst
Yeah.
case scenario, if
Same-
someone gets a cell phone video of that drone bombing something, and they capture it and they put it on the news. Worst case scenario.
Well, the same thing was happening under Bush. Like if you think about it, like for instance, like in the Afghan war versus the Iraq war, right? Like everyone knows about like the Battle of Fallujah. Everyone knows about Ramadi, Najaf, like all of these very kind of historic now and high profile battles that took place. And there were a lot of like human toll stories that came out of those battles, right? Like, do you guys remember the Marlboro Man who was like, he was literally like on the cover of the New York Times times after it was a Marine just like basically smoking a cigarette with a 1,000-yard stare after they made the initial push into Fallujah, and like people don't like seeing that shit. You know what I mean? Like that, it fucks people up, dude. Like the American psyche generally, right? Like they don't like seeing that. And then when you go to Afghanistan, you have even harder fights, right? Like just exclusive to the Marine Corps alone, you have like the entire Sangin fucking, the Helmand River Valley and like and fighting in Sangin was, as crazy as it possibly could be from like 2007 or 8 until like 2012, right? Like just, I mean, pure, just hyper crazy IED fighting. And then what about places like Marja? You don't see anything. No one ever talks about Marja, right? Like, and this was a huge battle, dude. They were throwing
Huge on
fucking
scale.
just infantry companies into a city, dude. Just fucking mud hut to mud hut, fucking machine gun fire, just throwing down, and no pictures. There's not a single picture. There's nothing. Nothing was ever advertised. So I think it really all comes down to that kind of like saving face, right? Like we don't show this anymore because it hurts the politics.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
when I was in the Helmand River Valley, I was there in 2012 in Musakela, which is just north of Sangin. We did 3 clearing operations, hut to hut, door to door, and we filmed one of them. National Geographic was with us on one of them, but nobody fucking watches it. No one
I'm
ever,
surprised that you guys did.
no one's
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, you were with a 2.5. Oh, I saw that battleground Afghanistan. It was crazy, dude. It's crazy. I'm like, yeah, they should have been there. His Mendawar was awesome. Loved it.
Highly recommend. Contact your travel agent.
Would recommend. Hey, they got power there. Nothing's attached. I should say they got power lines there. They don't work, and there's no electricity running through them. Thank God, but they're there.
Yeah, that was that's because it's no one wants to see the realistic side of anything. They just want to they want to see the good headlines of, oh, we're killing bad guys, but they don't want to see the costs. And
Well, I mean, you got to give the devil his due. I mean, that's where the Obama administration really knew what they were doing, because they would conduct these types of operations and then just not talk about it. Like,
Right.
We're going to do a whole bunch of drone shit and then we're never, ever going to address it. And then, of course, the media doesn't do their job and try to bring it up ever. I mean, maybe there's a few guys here and there that try, but, they get batted away really quickly.
Well, that's the thing I always wanted to is like, why bring it up unless they're just worried of the backlash? They're like, they just want to get ahead of it all the time. So we're just going to always announce when we do a strike. So that way, if it does backlash in any way, we're ahead of it, instead of just not mentioning it and then it coming across as trying to be hidden.
Yeah, well,
I think it's way better to not mention it.
Yeah, I agree for sure.
Yeah, so there's an old saying in politics, and it's if you're explaining, you're losing.
Yeah,
no, that's
I can see that. Yeah,
it's a good saying.
Plus, that's just not the way the government works. I mean, it's never proactive. It's always reactionary. It's always reacting to what's happening. Unfortunately, that's why it's, that's why it acts more like an oil tanker than it does like a, sailboat when it comes to making decisions.
That's why it's so inefficient, right? Because it's never predicting.
Inefficient as well.
It's never predicting or optimizing. It's always reacting to deficiencies.
Yeah, but
it's
dude,
not trying to.
I don't want to forget about this before we go too far from it. But that vein mapping technology.
Yeah, I wanted to say
that might be a real thing, but it definitely wasn't a real thing on that fucking video, because we all saw that grainy footage of that poor man's head getting sawn off.
I know, dude.
No way that ID'd Khalik Sheikh Mohammed from that video. No way.
Dude, are your veins really that distinct, like a fingerprint too? I would see it.
They say they are. This is like a thing that I've taken.
I guess like your palms.
And the first thing you do when you get to the front door is you hand them your ID, and you have to place your hand palm down on this thing, and it reads the vein running through.
Oh, that's why the biometric palm readers are so good.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
It's a real thing.
I thought it was just reading the combination of the fingerprints plus the vein and everything to kind of add an extra layer. You know, because then you had to
No,
combine
it's
two
like
things together.
it's like literally the layout or the like, you know, the composition of your palm or your veins or whatever. And you can just do that with a simple with I mean you would just measure either intensity or voltage drop to map out like get a map of like a vein with a sensor. That's it. But I don't know how you could get that from like a video. Like I just don't know see how you would be able
Well,
to
step one is you waterboard somebody until they tell you that they did it. That's step
right.
one.
Step one.
And then step two, then you just find whatever notable feature you see on the hand, and and then you start building your case from there.
Is this like you might be right, Rob. This is like bite science technology, like where it's completely like not
When I
I think
first heard
might
it,
have
I'm
just made a
like,
good case. So
dude, when I first heard it, I'm like, dude, dude, the guy was a close associate of Osama bin Laden. Like, you didn't have to sell me on sending him up the fucking river, right? Like, you could have just been like, hey, he knows Osama bin Laden. Like, we're putting him away forever or we're going to kill him. And I'd be like, all right, cool, man. Like, thanks for letting me know. You didn't have to do this like crazy churched up, we tortured him. He told us. Then we used the most advanced technology on Earth to break the video down and do like do vein mapping technology. Like, dude, you didn't have to do all this. You could have just literally said, like, showed him and a picture of Osama bin Laden. I'd be like, kill him, kill him, kill him. So I don't know, but I
that
think the
is
vein
nuts.
mapping is fucking wacky, dude.
That's interesting. I've never heard about that, and I wonder how much
Dude, you got
that
to do know thy enemy, bro. You got to do your deep dives on these guys. You got to know them down to the veins.
Yeah, you don't have to hagiography Khalid Sheikh Mohammed. I get it. He's a bad guy. He did bad
Yeah.
things. Get rid of him.
I mean, yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't know, but yeah, I thought that was kind of crazy, and that they even brought that into it. But I think it was probably because his confession was given under torture that they were like, "Yo, we got to bring in the scientists because
yeah.
we can't just bring this to a court. We tortured the fuck out of this dude, and now we have to tell everybody. So let's get a
Yeah.
scientist here to back us up.
They wanted something as a backup, and so to just get thrown out.
Yeah.
Is Khalid Sheikh Mohammed the reason why we went to Afghanistan? He's like, all the guys that were in or part or organized the 9/11 attack, they were all Saudi Arabian. But don't look into that. Where you want to go is Afghanistan. That's where you really want to go. You got to spend the next 21 years there, and you're gonna love it.
Well,
That's why we
that's the
went.
thing. Like, we were, I was talking to people about this today, and it's like, like, dude, I mean, it's a great point that you bring up too, though, because a lot of these guys are either Wahhabis from Saudi Arabia or they're fucking from Pakistan. You know what I mean? I mean, the Taliban's its own thing. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that they're great guys or something, but like, I don't think that the Taliban is like organizing, as much effort as they possibly can to attack the United States. They're just friendly with anyone that's probably not fans of the West, right? I mean, as you probably would be if you lived in fucking Afghanistan, after what happened with the Soviets. So, I don't know. I mean, I think it's, I think we're perpetually fighting the wrong people for sure.
It's like
But
Afghanistan is what
what
it
are you
was
gonna
sold
do?
as. It's a harbor, it's a harbor state. Just like
No,
what was
for
it,
sure. Yeah,
Sudan and
for sure.
all those terrorist states that Osama bin Laden was hiding out in, and a bunch of terrorists hiding out in for years. That we just would be like, they're terrorist states. We're never going to go in and catch. We're never going to go in and get them. We're just going to watch them.
Well, you hit the nail on the head. Like, Sudan kicked out Osama bin Laden, and then he went to Afghanistan.
Yeah.
And it's funny too, dude, that all these guys like are continually linked, right? Like, we're talking about OBL, we're talking about fucking Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, and
The
then
Jackal
today,
from
like
the 90s, the guy who captured and all the hostages from like the embassy, I think, in the 90s. They were all like in the same.
He's less Al Qaeda though. I was gonna say the Khashoggi guy, because Khashoggi is kind of linked to them as like being a reporter, and he's back in the news now. And so I don't know.
Yeah.
Just funny how
mean-
20 years later we're still kind of going on about all the same dudes.
Right. Well, was it the Bush administration that was that called it the new axis of evil?
Yeah. Yep.
And then it's like all these Middle Eastern countries, and then they're like, and then oh yeah, North Korea as well. Axis of evil, 'cause, North Korea is over there communicating with, Afghanistan, Iraq, Iran. They're up to no good. We got to stop them all. They're all communicating with one another. Dude,
And then they completely like went like this, like I don't see anything, I don't see anything when they looked at Saudi Arabia and all the money that comes out of the Gulf to support pretty much every terrorist activity on planet Earth. But
like, what are you doing? You're providing all effort and relief possible to Saudi Arabia as they committed a genocide in Yemen, and we're like, don't pay attention to that. Don't pay attention to that. Don't look over
yeah,
there. Like, we don't worry about that anymore.
I don't know, man. Everybody's just got this big bone to pick with Iran, man. They and they want to be friends with Saudi Arabia. I think Saudi Arabia is the ones that's been doing us dirty for the longest. So
Oh yeah, been taking our money, and that's where all of organized terrorism,
proxy fighting us.
come from. Yeah,
Yeah.
crazy.
Dude, proxy wars are just it's the new World War Threes, man. It's just proxy wars, dude.
And they're Sunnis, right? Like Saudi Arabians are mostly Sunnis.
Yeah, they're all Sunni. Yeah,
Like-
any Wahhabi is for sure going to be a Sunni Muslim for sure. Yeah, they hate Shias, and it's like weird, dude. Like I don't understand all the tenets of Islam, and like I don't pretend to be any kind of expert, but like they disagree on like really weird stuff. Like like Shia believe that like you can get a divorce, and Sunni are like no, you can't, and they like kill each other over stuff like that. Like when you should be married and when you shouldn't be, and like just all these weird like old school rules. I don't care enough to like really
Dude.
read that deeply into it. It's all fucking crazy to me.
I mean,
Whether it be Catholics or fucking Muslims,
gonna
whoever
say,
the fuck it is, it's all wacky to me.
that is crazy, but like I know too much about the Reformation and how stupid that all was to be like, oh yeah, that's crazy. Because you literally had fucking dudes during the Reformation, like you had Martin Luther and Ulrich Zwingli, and if these two dudes could have united, like during the original breaking away from the Catholic Church to create what would be called, or what would be give rise to modern day Protestants or Protestantism, the world would look completely different. But these two dudes decided to have an argument over what the word is it like it means when the Bible, when it says God takes a piece of bread and goes, "This is my body, consume it as me." And their complete negotiations fell down, broke apart over the word "is." And
What?
Ulrich Zwingli was killed in a battle the next day, and it completely changed the face of the Reformation because Martin Luther would not budge on that. It was a literal metaphor that a piece of bread was the body of Christ, and Ulrich Zwingli was like, no, it's figurative, and they argued about it for a week, and then the next day he was killed in battle, and it changed the face of the Reformation.
Damn.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I mean it's all goofy, but yeah, I don't know. That's where they disagree, and they'll kill each other just as fast as they'd kill us. So it's kind of interesting.
What is it? If they're not, they're fighting each other until the invader comes in, and the invader comes in, and then they bound up to fight the invader, and then they go back to fighting each other. So right now they're fighting us, and then as soon as we leave or whoever, then they go back to fighting each other because essentially they're just fighting to see whoever's got the best version of Islam,
Well, dude, look at Iraq, man. I think Iraq's a perfect example, dude. It was, a Sunni dominated government who oppressed Shia, who then also oppressed Kurds and oppressed any Christian minority. And then as soon as Saddam was removed, the Shia would massacre the Sunni with like us there. And they're like, oh yeah, like the Americans are, the Americans hate you guys too. So we'll just fucking kill a bunch of you and they'll probably like it. And we were like, dude, no, you can't do that. So it's like constant, like you can't put them in the same room together, let alone be there yourself, So it's like this drama that never ends. It's impossible to police,
I remember reading some books about like the invasions to like Iraq and the Gulf War. It's like just trying to get locals to in fighting condition and having the different tribes they would just fight, kill each other, rape each other. It was like just a big fiasco just trying to get like a local fighting force to fight with them, because of all that differences.
Dude, I mean, you got that going on too, but I mean, all of you guys can Google right now. Just Google like ANA or Afghan National Army trying to do jumping jacks. I mean, we're not,
Yeah.
we're not working with marble here.
Yeah.
We're working with quickcrete.
Yeah. That is almost like it has to be a fake video when you watch it. It's like, is that real right now? Like,
Dude, it's a real thing. They just don't get it. They don't. It's like when you teach a kid like for the first time how to do jumping jack, and you're like, no, your arms and feet aren't going in the same direction. They're going opposite somehow. I don't know how you did that because you'd think regular coordination would kick in, but somehow you've overridden that. Got to teach that away.
Yeah.
hey, when you're in the
I
Stone
don't know.
Age, you're in the Stone Age, They don't need to do jumping jacks. They walk everywhere and
it.
eat bread and that's it.
Yeah, they just ride a motorcycle across the most fucking unbelievable and navigable, like it's completely unnavigated, like except for like crawling, but somehow these dudes are like they've got a family of 4 on their little motorbikes and they're just like
The
going
little
across like it's
scooters.
nothing. Yeah, like it's just like holy cow, man.
Or the Toyotas that
Oh
run
yeah,
forever.
Corollas, they're unstoppable.
Yeah.
The white Corollas.
I follow a Toyotas of War thing on Instagram, and it's just like, dude, if you're in a war torn area, you better believe there's Toyotas there, dude, with mounted machine guns on them.
Oh
The,
yeah, especially like Hiluxes and shit.
yeah, the Hiluxes and the Corollas, man, like unstoppable.
Dude.
Weren't we trying to sue, or somebody was trying to sue Toyota because they wanted to like, oh, you're providing like
It was
you're
around the
providing,
time of ISIS, yeah.
yeah, you're providing transportation to the enemy.
Yeah, they did, man, because they are shipping them out like, to these areas, and then somehow they're getting in. It was because around the time when ISIS was making those crazy like fucking 4K videos of them like fucking driving around in all their Hiluxes and their like fucking crazy little Mad Max fucking up armored shit, and yeah, they I forget who entered in the lawsuit, but yeah, it was short lived. I think it's real hard to blame, a
Yeah, car
company on
manufacturer and
where
what
their
happens
shit
to
ends up.
their product after they
Yeah,
sell
Yeah.
it.
definitely none of
Yeah, a
them are
government
from
could buy a
anytime
fleet
soon.
and then
Right. We just needed more Captain Americas out there, dude. Denying the enemy transportation.
Yeah. Right. For
Taking
sure.
enemy AKs and shooting it randomly out of a Humvee. Screaming on the radio.
Oh man.
Dude,
Yeah,
that's still that miniseries is like the best depiction of what it's like to be in the military.
Generation Kill. Dude, their radio background comms too is like the most accurate radio comms of any like series or movie ever. Just if you like sit there and like after you've watched it a couple times, you just listen to the radio comms. It's like actually what it sounds like in real life.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really like any of the movies and any of the TV series where they actually involve the troops. Like you usually get a pretty decent product. It's when you
Yeah.
get some fucking director who tries to cheese it. Like, remember Oliver Stone making fucking, Mister, I got shot a bunch in fucking Vietnam, making badass fucking movies about Vietnam. It's like, well, go
Yeah.
figure.
Yeah.
You
He's
know?
got a Navy Cross all over Stone.
Dude, it's crazy, man. He was like a super decker. Did he get a
Or
Navy
it's like
Cross?
a
I
Silver
thought he got a
Star or
Silver
something.
Star. Yeah.
It's something highly
I think he had two Purple Hearts too.
I remember watching like an interview with him when he was talking about PTSD, and he was talking about it from a civilian aspect. He was on like in a fob with maybe it's somebody else, but he was like on a fob in Afghanistan with a bunch of dudes, and he was talking about it, and I was like, dude, that is really like interesting coming from like a reporter civilian side. It's like you don't see that very often. But there are those like combat reporters that like literally spend like time that were Strepo or in Vietnam that literally are just combat hardened, like everybody else with a camera.
Yeah, you know what other movie did a really good job of that is We Were Soldiers with Mel Gibson. They had Barry
Highly good movie.
Pepper playing the field reporter or whatever that went in with the battalion. I thought they did a pretty good job of displaying that in that movie as well. Although
No, that was a
I,
great movie.
I do have to say, in most cases, it is true once you get the real troops involved or whatever, it's good. Except for Act of Valor. Fuck that movie and the dude catching the dude in the water before he falls in with a sniper
Bro,
shot.
that was yeah,
Oh,
Fuck
that
that
was
scene.
that was what happens
I
when you
never
give
saw that movie.
That's what happens when you give service members the ability to make their own movie instead of just acting in something that actually happened. Like,
Right?
because even the letter that they're reading in the beginning, and like they take out they take a bunch of the like the historic things like the SEALs have done. Like the dude get his eye shot in the first scene when
Oh
they hit that
yeah.
compound. You know, that really happened in Afghanistan or Iraq on top of a like I met that dude. Like he was on top of a fucking building. It was literally a firefight, got shot in the head, and everybody thought he was dead. And they pulled him into another room, treated him, kind of thought he was dead, and the next thing you know, he wakes up and he comes back and starts returning fire, you know? So like they just tried to put a bunch of that shit into a movie, and it's like it was cool because the combat was kind of realistic in the way that they did all the scenes, you know, with the GoPro footage of like the night vision and stuff. But yeah, the dialogue and the way they acted was just so bad. Like,
I'll give him credit. I'll give him credit where credit's due. The riverboat scene's pretty cool. It's pretty sweet when they show up in the Swick boat, and
do the
but
live fire and shred the fucking entire car. And like just like
mhm.
the optics, you know how they had the GoPro when they went under like the first person like EOTech with the lasers clearing the rooms. Like as far as like TV shows or movies go, like that's pretty quality like camera work, you know, for like a action movie. You know, most of the time it's pretty low quality. They just focus on the bangs and the booms, you know. But
Yeah. But that's also filmmaking, dude. Films are just getting better, or they're getting better at making them.
yeah,
Like I I know I shit on Tenet recently for being basically unfollowable. Like, go ahead. Like if I were to like screen Tenet for you guys, and like I'd be like, all right, Rob and Mike, go ahead and tell me what Tenet was about. Impossible task, but it's really well made, like really well shot. Like they uh they did the most expensive scene ever filmed in a movie. They actually destroyed a 747.
Whoa.
Yeah.
jeez.
Why?
Either Warner Brothers or Christopher Nolan's production company bought a 747 and they literally destroyed it.
That's fucking crazy, dude.
Yeah.
That's why movies have to make. How much did you say they have to make in order to make a profit these days?
Oh, $1
Because
billion,
the
dude. You got to
because they
make
buy
$1 billion.
because they buy planes and blow them up. You know.
Yeah. I mean, it's awesome. It's really cool. I mean, so
Does
like,
any movie make $1 billion? I don't know how much movies make and shit.
oh yeah, like the Marvel movies can churn out $1 billion. Some of the DC
Wow.
movies have made $1 billion. Even Nolan's movies have made $1 billion.
I'm
That's
sure a bunch of
crazy. I
movies
didn't
make
know
$1
that.
billion after like
That's a
5
lot.
years too. You know,
Well, you got to
maybe not out
factor
the
in
gate.
it's like all like the entire lifespan of the movie. So like when it debuts in America, when it debuts in Europe, when it debuts in Asia, and then like its film or like its its DVD sales and like streaming like digital downloads and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, because you usually make
That's
like
like a
what, a
long
couple hundred
life.
million in the box office, and then hopefully it makes the last 100 or 2 million in streaming and DVDs and shit. People
Well,
still
I
buy
mean, ideally
those.
they'd like to make like I don't know, like a however wherever they so like let's say they debut it in like the US, European, and like American or Asian market, they would want it to basically break down to like a third, a third, a third, but it's not necessarily going to do that. They, maybe it'll do really great in America, and then like it doesn't do so well in Europe or Asia or whatever. Or it does well in Europe or America, and it doesn't do so well in Asia, but it'll have crossed the threshold to where they make their money back at least. But I mean, that's the problem with movies getting so expensive. So yeah, you make a $300 million movie. Well, that's just cost to make the movie. You got to double that because of marketing and getting it out there. So like you have to make $600 million to break even. That's insane. That's
Yeah.
That's
crazy.
fucking crazy.
That's like that's not a feasible like long-term model to base anything on.
All right.
Like you
No,
need
That's
to
a
yeah,
make
for
movies.
crazy
sure.
amount of money.
Yeah, you need to make a good movie for like $50 million ideally, like no more than that, like 80 million at the top end.
Dude, Napoleon Dynamite.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure they spent like fucking they spent like 100K on that thing, and it turned out like 50 million bucks. Remember we looked it up? I was like,
Mhm.
Yeah.
what? That's
Crazy
so crazy.
success.
hmm
Who would have guessed it too, dude? I gotta look it up really fast. Napoleon Dynamite. Let's see what they spent. It's so funny, dude.
Dude, when do you think the next movie to make $1 billion will be? Or do you think like that market has changed so much because movie theaters are may or may not be around the next you know 10 years or something,
Yeah. No, like
Yeah.
well movie theaters are almost, especially with this pandemic, are like almost turning into like a GameStop type of like how long are they really gonna be around, you know? Because they almost have that same type of everybody's going to streaming services now to like unless like you're gonna have to redesign your business model for movie theaters, you know, because big movie complexes probably aren't gonna be as sellable unless you make it into like an evening type of thing, you know, an arcade or like some type of something where you can go there and make an entire evening out of it instead of just going to see one movie, you know, a luxury movie or have a nice restaurant in there or a club or something. I feel like because going just to see a movie is probably going to be dying out a lot now, you know, especially now that
yeah.
everybody's getting used to being home and having streaming services and just watching at home or having their friends come over and watch it at home with them or whatever, you know?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
the movies are done for, dude. Movies are
I
going away. They're done.
Yeah. I mean, as much as many problems as I have with the movie theater, with like somebody's always fucking coughing, somebody's always talking, or like coming in late, or like the floor's sticky, or someone's kicking you in the back of their seat or something like that. And like, not to mention that like popcorn and a drink cost you like $17. And just like, what? That's like more than what I paid to get in to watch this thing. Um, but I do like the sound system in a movie theater. Like I do like watching it on a huge big screen with, high resolution, good clarity. Um, but dude, I was thinking about it the other day. Movie theaters got a raw deal, man. As far as like if a restaurant can be open, why the fuck can't a movie theater be
I
open?
saw that too. I saw that today, Drew. That's what I was thinking about when you mentioned it. It's
Like
like
people
movie theaters
don't
are the
talk
ones
in a
that
movie
haven't opened
theater, or
up.
they're right. You're in a big area where you're usually a lot of space between, like unless it's a packed movie, like and like you're going like on a Friday release or something like that. But let's say you go to like a matinee or whatever, you're gonna go in with maybe like I don't know 20 people, and to something that seats easily like over 100 people, probably maybe even 200 at one of the bigger theaters. It's like well ventilated, the air's blowing, you're not supposed to be talking. You're not supposed to be making a lot of noise. You're supposed to just sit there quietly, not make a sound. And you can't do that, but we can go into fucking restaurants.
Yep. Yeah. No, that's a
Whoa,
great
whoa,
point.
whoa. I can't go to a restaurant.
I can go to all the restaurants I want,
I
but
think they just
Well,
open
you can go to them
restaurants here.
outside. They got to be
Yeah, no.
outside.
No, yeah. I was just being a dick.
Yeah, yeah.
but no, that is a good point. Like how they've been overlooked as far as like not being able to reopen as much as like every
Oh,
other thing.
they just got, I don't know why, they just got wrapped up in the mass hysteria, and everyone just, declaratively was just like, nope, movie theaters, you can't go there. That's a super spreader event. Like, out, no, never. Like, are you out of your mind? But
Dude, they watched
No.
too much Outbreak. Remember, that's how it initially spreads an outbreak is in a movie theater.
yeah, that's true. It's
Well, I
true.
think even after the pandemic, like movie theaters gonna have to like specialize into like that experience that you were talking about, Drew. You know, where it's like you're going for the experience of like going out to the movies versus watching the movie because like you can usually get it on whatever streaming device you're gonna get it on cheaper than you're gonna pay for at a movie theater and not have to pay for any of the extra stuff. So for movie theaters to stay in business, they're gonna have to come up with some type of different business model to attract like that experience of like revamping it into making it more of a reason to come, not just for the movie, but for something else, you know, something that you can't
Right.
do at home.
Yeah. I mean, there's also something to be said, like, so like it's not only is it like I think on especially like for I don't know, something like Interstellar like that. Like that's like for me, that's like a movie like you want to see in theaters, like if you can, like try to see that in the theater. But there's also something to be said for, like, I don't know if you guys remember when Martin Scorsese's The Irishman came out, and
Yeah.
basically, like, everybody shit on it, being like, "It's too long, like, it's so boring, like, what is Martin Scorsese thinking? Like, this is, like, so hard to get through." And I think that was just because it debuted on Netflix, it debuted, like, around Thanksgiving, when people have a bunch of people in their house, normally, or they have friends over and like a million things going on, they're probably like, "Oh, Martin Scorsese's new film, The Irishman. Like, we've been waiting for this forever. Like, it's the third trilogy in his gangster movies." And then they started watching it, and it is a slow movie. It's a long movie. You got to like kind of slog through it a little bit. But then, like, life happens. Like, your phone goes off, or people leave, or people come in, and like they just like, and they're like, "What do you think about The Irishman?" And you're just like, "Eh, I didn't really like it." Whereas a movie theater, you are there. Like, you're there from when it starts until when it ends, and you have to stay there if you want to watch the whole thing. And I think people would have a completely different opinion about that movie if they saw it in the theaters and they were forced to watch it in one sitting rather than try to like watch it in many different iterations or be interrupted constantly.
No, that's very true. Because when you're going to watch a movie, you're going in with the condition of I'm here to watch this entire thing, without any
Hmm.
interruptions.
Right.
Versus at your house, you're like, maybe I'll get up, go to the bathroom, and then maybe my dog needs to go outside, and then I come back at 20, 30 minutes later, or you take a phone call where you would have just put your phone on silent. That's yeah,
Right.
that's a very good point. But I also would say that like to the experience thing, like people also are getting way more advanced with like just having their own like like movie style systems in their house, getting a surround sound, 4K TVs. Like my brother has virtual reality headsets that he watches movies on, and he said he's like watching at that like Science Center Omniplex. He said it's awesome. So I think that's also part of it, like people are able to bring that reality or that experience back to their homes more than they were able to do before, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think all those closures are fucking bullshit, but especially like since you can get on airplanes and since you can fucking do lots of things. Retail stores, I remember that being the silliest. Like here in New York City, it was like I couldn't go to a restaurant to get any food, but I could walk through a, huge retail store with hundreds of people in it.
Right.
But I couldn't go to like a cafe where maybe there's like 5 of us.
Mhm.
I don't know.
Right.
It's it's not made to make sense because these are blanket policies that are stupid and they're made by stupid people. Just like when I told you, about like the governor here who was like on a book tour and they were like handing out fucking awards and shit. And now there's going to be a federal indictment against them. It's like, you know, just people thinking they're smarter than they are. Not and having literally zero ability to do much of anything. Besides besides organize a team to get them elected, that's who
Yeah.
makes these decisions. So it sucks, but I think movies were on their way out anyway, man. I
They were
mean, even
certainly
Yeah.
declining.
yeah, for sure. Like even remember Movie Pass, like when that came out, um, like even stuff like that couldn't even help. It didn't even help. I don't even think it bolstered, like moviegoer population at all. So
No.
Yeah.
But at least you didn't fall for a multi-level marketing scheme.
no, yeah, exactly right. Or invest my money with it. I knew some people who did.
Sad day, bro.
Rip.
Bad one.
Almost as bad as the Fire Festival. Did you guys ever see that, like, documentaries on them?
Yeah, I saw that. That looked fucked up, bro. They like stranded a bunch of people on an island and shit when they thought they were gonna go party. They're like
Yeah.
shitting in buckets and stuff. I'm like, oh fuck.
Yeah,
Got
but
him pretty good.
in a way, you end up rooting for them anyway because these are like the most vapid people like imaginable, just
Yeah,
trying to go to a
exactly.
fucking island and have a good time or whatever.
They just want to do drugs and like and dance to some shitty music or whatever. Yeah, whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
I never saw the point in any of that stuff. I mean, I like, don't get me wrong, like I've been to clubs in Vegas or whatever, but it's like you walk in, you drink, whatever, you have drinks. But I would never like I was in Vegas to like enjoy the casinos. I would never like fly to an island for that, you know what I mean?
Right.
For the club experience, it's pretty boring.
That's like you just gotta have just either too much time, money, or just looking for that next thrill. You've done the clubs, now you got to go to an island for it or something. Like just seems like
People are all
you're
about that shit.
that private experience or something. Wasn't like
Yeah, they're all
in
about it.
like Europe and Germany, especially is like the big club scene. That's like where clubbing's huge. Is like in Europe
Yeah,
and Germany and stuff like techno and all that stuff. Like it's
they have
huge.
discotheques. But yeah,
Yeah, discotheque.
there's I mean, I don't know. I went to a bunch like in Poland and stuff when I was visiting there. Um it's just like here. It's basically just like you guys remember D Street
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
in
Mhm.
Encinitas? It's like that. That's a discotheque. So like basically the type of thing that I'm describing to them is like this bar slash club. It's like a bar restaurant that clears the tables out on a Friday and Saturday and turns kind of clubbish. They got a DJ in there. They have like kind of a smaller dance floor, but it's not a club, right? But it's like a club light. And so you have like a more manageable crowd, and the drinks are probably a little bit better than when you're at a club, and the lines aren't as long. So it's just better. It's just a better experience
Yeah.
in general.
Yeah. Good old D Street, Encinitas, keeping the locals angry.
It's gone. It's gone, dude.
Is
When
it?
I was
It's
just in
gone now?
California, it's gone, dude. Not there anymore. It doesn't exist.
Oh
Um,
no.
New place. Yep. So D Street's
Cat
gone.
casualty of COVID or died before?
I'm not sure. It looked like it died before because there was, like a whole new place that was in its, that had taken over it. So, but yeah, me and Brandy went for lunch in Encinitas with her sister, and we saw it, and I was like, oh man, dude, all those
Oh
good times,
man, all those memories.
all those. Well, what I can remember.
Right.
Yeah, bummer.
Dude,
But
California is just like Southern California is just becoming unrecognizable.
I mean, to a degree, I don't know, man. Like the only changes that I saw was like uh when in North County were like how much they're building up there. I think they're just moving a lot of people in there.
Yeah.
So North County is gonna be ruined, man. North County used to be great, was quiet, was chill. North County, San Diego, just very beach towny, just super chill. And now they're just building high-rise apartment complexes, and they're ruining it. They're ruining it.
Yeah, I always
So
wanted to be like to move back to California now as just like as a civilian outside the military and see how much I would enjoy it versus like when we were living there under like the military budget and BH and shit, because of how
yeah,
expensive it is to live there in general.
I still think it'd be great to live there. It'd be expensive
Yeah.
as shit, but still be awesome. Great
dude, it's
weather.
not expensive at all, dude. Where I live is expensive.
True.
Yeah, I'd
You
probably
live
I
at
depend
live in an
on,
expensive place.
the pinnacle.
There, it's like nothing.
dude, I would
Super
love to
cheap.
go back and live in Carlsbad area again. That'd be so amazing.
Dude, yeah, I think it's doable, but I don't even know if it's worth it anymore. Like I said, they're building up at the beach a ton. So I'm not even sure like what it's gonna be like here in a few years, but we'll see, I guess.
Plus, who knows what's gonna happen with Kamistan, California.
Right.
I don't know. I kind of have higher hopes. It can't stay bad forever.
Yeah.
People are starting to really recognize they don't like it.
Yeah.
So
We'll see.
yeah,
Have,
I doubt it. It's probably gonna stay bad forever, but trying to be
have,
optimistic.
have you been keeping up with the Cuomo nursing home thing?
Yeah, I mean, it's just basically, they're cracking the egg on it now. That was the comment that I was making before.
Do you think anything of consequence will come from it?
Fuck no,
Yeah.
Fuck no, they don't give a shit. Oh, what? He killed a bunch of poor people, a bunch of poor old people. They don't fucking care. They're up in their palaces up in Albany. They don't give a fuck. You know, they're gonna crush it with their media people and all the folks that like, for whatever reason, think he was like a a godsend during COVID or whatever, and it'll be the same. But they already gave the awards out. They already won. They won the
Yeah.
battle, dude. That's it. So, yeah, nothing's gonna come of that. Literally zero. So, it's a shame too, man. It's a shame because I get it. Like as a person who's in charge of like such a huge and important place, you might have to kind of bend some rules and do some shady shit here and there. But like, that probably wasn't the way that I would think you would do it, right? By killing everybody's granny, like your least defensible people. But this is unfortunately, I think that's how people think. They're like, well, we're once again, it's the COVID logic. Oh, we're facing an onslaught that's going to just kill all of these people. We have to save who we can. And like, if you're in a nursing home, you're too far gone, and they start making stupid choices, man, like as if you don't matter. So it's terrible.
You're in a nursing home, you've crossed the Rubicon. Can't be
Yeah,
helped.
exactly. It's sad, man. But I wish there was something that would come out of it. But I mean, dude, that dude's father was a politician. He's a politician. His brother's in media, an important dude in media. There's fucking nothing's gonna happen to that guy. I would not be surprised if he's making a presidential run very soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, very soon for sure. Like within the next 2 terms, I could see him going up for a presidential candidacy.
As I say, do you think he would challenge Biden if that were the case?
I don't even think there's any. I mean, do you think Biden will even have enough fucking years in his life left, man? I mean, dude,
I don't know.
to do another 4-year term, what's he going to be? He'll be almost 80 years old.
Yeah, I mean, like it's like
He'll have
Reagan
some
will-
real hairy legs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder what
Fucking
these first
weirdo.
4 years would do to him, because it has a tendency to age people, very fast. So
They're gonna discover super dementia, dude.
Yeah,
Dementia, but worse.
I think that he has built like a super weak cabinet. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how things shape up, man. I'm trying to stay optimistic. Never know. I think he'll probably take certain things a little more seriously than the last administration did. But pretty much everything I've seen is like meh. Nothing too cool. So nothing important.
Yeah, I mean, there's
it's just all
just
predictable stuff,
they're hiding behind their shield of identity and inclusiveness.
Well, I couldn't believe it. I saw like it. He had chosen this head economist who has a master's degree from Illinois State University. Has no offense to anybody who's ever been to Illinois State,
Go Redbirds.
but my point in saying that is that she's not a PhD, which is really fucking weird for a head economist, and she's never been published. Unless it was
Really?
like in like the New York Times or something, but she's not like a published economist. So like I don't, purely a very weird play if you ask me. But I see a lot of these like very like I'm choosing an all-woman communications cabinet, or I'm choosing
Mhm.
these people because of whatever characteristic that they have, or
The first Indian woman to serve on this council.
right, exactly. Like all this very weird stuff that doesn't necessarily equate to horsepower when it comes to solving the problems that they're going to be up against. And it's like, I don't know, man. Like, I'm not going to lie, dude. Like, I don't think that someone with just a master's degree is qualified to do that kind of job, dude. Like, my tutors are people with master's degrees, dude. And they're like sometimes getting stumped by undergraduate questions that I'm up against. You know what I mean? And I don't like, I don't know. It's crazy to me that you would take someone like that. So
We all know the bastion of economics and economic theory is coming out of Bloomington,
Illinois
Normal,
State.
Illinois State.
Illinois
Which,
State, man.
let me tell you something. As a guy that lives in Illinois, Illinois State is not one of our top universities.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like, I don't want to do the whole like class warfare bullshit, but it's like, dude, like in order to solve these problems, you need to be at the top of your field. Like I was the way that I found out about it, I was reading a Bloomberg article and it discusses like solving all this like wage disparity and like unemployment from COVID. And it's like, dude, you have a master's degree from Illinois State. You've never been published. Have you studied anything that like have you ever written about anything that talks about unemployment or like how you're going to fix this? Or are you just a figurehead? You're just a placeholder. So I literally think, unfortunately, that this person is just a bookmark. And so, 36 years old, Department of Labor chief. 36 years old, dude. Department of Labor is chief economist, excuse me. It's like,
Dude,
dude,
labor and you done at 36, especially with a master's degree.
like it's crazy to me, dude. You put someone in charge of the Department of Labor who's not even 40. They haven't even been in the workforce for 20 years. Like what the fuck? And then they only have a master's degree. They've never been published. It's really crazy to me, man. I could beat that one up all day, but I've seen a lot of that, Press secretary sucks.
Just off the top of my head, like just seeing that looks like, okay, so now you're telling me that I knew I was always right with all these people that usually appoint are bullshit because of the fact that now you're just kind of doing this. So it's just kind of whoever you like that's going to probably say or follow your path, It doesn't
Well, they're
matter,
not supposed to be bullshit. They're not supposed to be bullshit.
I think this
These
one's
are, like,
kind of
really important
unreeling the
positions.
curtain. Well, I think it's unreeling the curtain a little bit
Man
on
behind the
some of
curtain.
them. Yeah, some of them aren't really like actually being put in there because of what they can do. Before it was just they put them in there so they could fill the requirements, but this one seems like they just were like, oh, fuck the requirements.
Let me be clear. Sorry, not to cut you off, Mike, but let me be clear.
Yeah.
I don't want to sound like a Trumper here on this one. Donald Trump fired more people in these positions. Like you guys saw the list, right? Like if anybody who's interested, if you'd love to see the body count of Donald Trump's, positions, just Google Donald Trump and you'll see his presidency. Literally, it is like 150 person long list of people who like occupied a position for 8 days and then were fired or like occupied a position for 15 days and then were fired. I don't think that is necessarily the right way to do things. I think you should choose someone and then, like when you choose your czar or when you choose like your head dude, like you have to live and die by them, right? Like you have to support them and they have to support you.
Right.
And it can't be this like, you can't have dysfunction within the government like that. So now that's the danger in him picking this person, who I think is probably going to amount to be a miserable failure, but maybe, I don't know, somehow, maybe I'll be wrong. Maybe some new blood, some 36-year-old undereducated blood will help out.
Get in there, young blood.
Maybe just
We'll
goes to show
see.
you don't need a PhD. You don't need that shit,
Now, normally I'd say that, but when it comes to this kind of stuff, it's like, hey, man, like I would prefer someone who has studied and not only studied, but then been written because when you write, you're peer reviewed. And so
Right.
now you've been accepted by the scientific community, the social science community, whatever community you write into, you've been at least accepted to them. And I still believe that economics and a lot of the hard sciences are pretty solid. They're still on solid ground. I think, when you start getting into some of the other social sciences, it can get a little weird and you might be getting into, you remember the homies who fucking wrote, they are fucking, dude, they are national heroes. Those people, they are fucking national heroes, dude. They wrote,
Peter
for anybody who doesn't know,
Boghossian, James Lindsay, and Helen Pluckrose.
Yeah. They wrote papers like, for instance, they like wrote, they took like big sections of Mein Kampf and translated to English. And then wherever they saw like any type of descriptor, they deleted it and added white male. And it was like on its way, it was going through peer review. It was almost accepted into a journal, into a scientific periodical. And that one got bounced, but then they did one on like, rape in dog parks between dogs. They did all these hilarious like fake studies to show that like a lot of these scientific journals on the social science side are fucking garbage. National heroes.
Yeah.
I love it.
But in this case, I would hope that you have been published, peer reviewed, understand your field,
Well,
and have something to contribute.
it's interesting because so like even if you're appointing that like a person who is well accomplished in their field to that position and they end up just either being a placeholder like a figurehead who just holds the title and really does nothing of any consequence, at least they had done the work to get there. And this is kind of like the inverse of that, where the person hasn't done any of the work necessarily to get there, or be like a leading expert in their field, and is essentially a figurehead position, or possibly making a whole bunch of decisions that will impact millions of Americans. But it's interesting.
How did she get there then? You know, like who did she know, or who did she rub elbows with to get there without a PhD and all that stuff? Yeah, like that's a whole
had
other
the-
question, right?
Wish I knew, man.
She had the
Wish I
right
knew.
pronouns in her Twitter header.
Yep. I wish I knew, dude. I don't know how. But
She's an ally.
yeah, I have no fucking clue, to be honest. But it wasn't the best choice, in my opinion. But anyway, I digress. I was just simply using that as an example of like, lots of bad decisions that I think are going to come out of this for, lots of optic reasons, like, oh, I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to choose this all female communications cabinet, or I'm going to do this or that, which is going to, kind of polarize my constituency to see how virtuous I am, type of thing. And I think it's just going to hurt a lot of people.
Yeah, the virtue signaling to the highest level, essentially.
Yeah, it just doesn't really help anything. I mean, I think like when you're wrong, right? Like if you're Donald Trump and you're railing about the fucking, about the trade bill and how, you need to save American jobs, and you're wrong, which in my opinion, and I think the data backs me up to say that, yeah, he was wrong. And, when you do stuff like this, you're wrong as well. It's the same shit.
Mm-hmm. It's all right. He can be as wrong as he wants. He's not Trump, so he's better. So
More better.
Yeah, I mean, even the
More
press was
better.
good to him today with the bombing in Syria. They're like, hey, Joe Biden sends message to Iran like, you can't do what you want, like, be careful, type of thing. It's like, really? I don't know. I specifically remember when Donald Trump like put warheads on foreheads. You were like, oh my God, we're going to war. What did you do? What did you do? You crazy psycho, So like,
I remember that.
yeah,
Everyone's like, we're going to
media is very
war.
friendly.
Behavior.
Yeah,
That
they're
was
like, oh, great. He got us in a war with Iran. We're going to lose. I'm like, I don't know who thinks we would lose in a war against Iran. I mean, it would be an ugly war, but like if we fought it right, I just don't like, they don't even have a navy. We just like block them off, and you know what I mean?
Literally
The
just
problem
tomahawk
is,
them from
what do you do
destroyers.
after you beat them?
Yeah. I remember that too, because that was like right after we got out. It was like, can we get drafted back in and shit? It was like all that type of nonsense. It's like, dude, everyone thought like World War III was gonna break out. So
Mike can't. But Drew, I think you're still on the chopping block, dude.
has it been 8 years, Drew?
Oh no, like when that was going on, when you guys were like, "Oh, can we get drafted back in?" I was like, "I'm out, man. I filled my inactive reserve
Did you?
timeline. Like they can't
Okay.
even rope me back in if they want."
So by that time,
Nice.
you had already hit your IRR
Yeah,
time?
by that time
Oh,
I was
okay.
like, "Well done."
Yeah, because me and Rob got out after 8 years, so we were straight and clear.
Oh yeah, I was good to go.
Yep. That was like one of the things I was happy about. I was like, I'm out scot clear, They can't even do shit. They can't even get me on IRR. Like I'm free and clear,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got one phone call one time by fucking reserve dude, and he's just like, if you ever interested, and I was like, "Where'd you get my number from?" It's like, because don't ever fucking call me again. You could
Yeah.
have more money than God. I'm not coming back in to do what I just did.
I get them
The
all the time
reserve
from
thing was
school.
the reserve thing was a bad deal for me. They were trying to make me like they were trying to make me like run some clinic in Baltimore. I'm like, guys,
Oh
do you
boy.
know do you know what the fuck I do? Like what NEC is like, what the fuck, man? And they're like, yeah, this is, like there's no billets for that. All we can do is this. They wanted me to be some fucking LPO at some reserve clinic in Baltimore. And like you have to fly yourself there and stuff. It's the worst job ever. I don't even know why anyone does it.
Really?
They
They
do.
don't pay for it?
Yeah, I thought they paid for it if you were outside of it and you had to travel to
Yeah,
a
yeah,
reserve duty
but
station or whatever.
yeah, right. They're supposed to, but we all know how this kind of stuff works, right? Just like you only have to work
Right.
a weekend a month, but like if you're in a leadership position, then guess what? You're doing rosters and preparation, you're working that whole time. You're not getting paid for any of that.
Yeah.
Doing everything to prepare for that drill weekend, you don't get fucking paid for that shit. So
And you're
like a
dealing
lot
with
of dudes that I
people.
knew.
Sorry, go ahead, Rob. My bad.
No, go ahead, man.
I was gonna say I knew one or two people that were chief reservists, and they were dealing with all the backlash from like sailors on their like throughout their month on their normal jobs, getting phone calls and all that shit on the
Right.
in their meantime. I'm like, really? That's what you're doing as a reservist? And they loved it. I'm like, dude, fuck that, bro. I was like, I'm either all in active duty or I'm all out. Fucking growing a beard and never shaving my face. Like, I'm not shaving and going and playing military for what, like for a weekend, you know. Like I couldn't do the mind switch, you know. Like, we've all gone on like a long leave period and had to come back and re-switch back to military life, and that sucks. Imagine doing that like every month, you know, having to like go back to playing that game.
Yeah, I could
Yeah.
never do the 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Not in the regular shit.
No.
Nah, it'd be painful.
But yep. Whatever.
Did you guys see the that freaking Rand Paul is just getting crucified with his questioning of Rachel Levin for health secretary?
Yeah, I did. That was an interesting exchange.
For those of you who don't know what we're talking about, Biden's candidate for Secretary of Health, Rachel Levin, is a transgender woman. And she's going through the confirmation procedure right now. And Rand Paul, who he's been under fire before for various other things he's either said or done. But the most recent thing we did was uh, well, I guess it depends on which news source you look at, but basically, Rand Paul's big concern was that it's becoming more and more popular for people that have either gender dysphoria or undergo gender reaffirming procedures. That he's really concerned about minors making this decision because it would, it can irreversibly change your physiology after you take hormones and obviously after you have surgery. And he just questioned, this transgender woman, Rachel Levin, and she, instead of answering any of his legitimate questions, just parroted out some canned answer someone had written for, saying that transgender medicine is very nuanced and intricate, has a lot of intricacies and difficult questions to address, and that she would be happy to visit him in his office and talk about those details later. And he once again asked him or her to, I'm canceled, to clarify the question, or to answer the specific question. And once again, just repeated the same canned answer. I mean, like, this is a person who is supposed to be the Secretary of Health, like, you know, and she's just not going to answer a question. And now Rand Paul has been framed as ignorant and insensitive and comparing genital mutilation to gender reaffirmation procedures.
Well, do we know anything about like her qualifications or his qualification or whatever? The what's her name?
Rachel Levin.
Rachel Levin. Do we know anything about her qualifications? Like at all? I don't know. I don't know anything. Like I don't know how she ended up the health secretary.
She probably has a
Um,
she a PA, like a master's, you know? Is she even like a doctor or like is she a
She's a
that's what I'm saying.
nutritionist?
pediatrician. She's a pediatrician.
Okay,
So like,
okay.
she has she went to Penn State, um, and she worked in pediatrics and psychiatry. So and I mean, and that's what makes like the like I guess obfuscation of his questioning even more like, come on, like she's a pediatrician, he's also a doctor,
Right.
and he's just asking her for her medical opinion on something like, hormone therapy for minors, and she's just, gender medicine or transgender medicine is a very nuanced and has many, intricacies, and I would be more happy to explain that. Like, it's just like, come on, like he's
It's a
asking you as
cop
a
out.
doctor for your medical opinion. Like, yeah,
Yeah,
Well,
she's just
that's the
copying
thing
out
is
so she
that
doesn't go on record with an opinion, right?
right.
exactly.
And I mean, like, Rachel Levin, she went to Penn State, or she taught. I mean, she taught at Penn State. She went to Harvard and Tulane, and then worked at
Oh,
Mount
okay.
Sinai. She went to Tulane University of Medicine, which we know a guy that went there.
Yeah. No, I mean,
Um,
it's a good
it's
school.
it's a great school. Like it's a really good medical school. Like, and then Mount Sinai, worked at Mount Sinai Medical Center. It's one of the best hospitals in the nation. So
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's like, okay, so now that we know that, it's like, why wouldn't she give the answer? And
right,
I mean, to me, I think the reason why she wouldn't give the answer is because she knows the answer will get her in fucking hot water. Because she probably does think it's okay for little kids to fucking, uh undergo these types of fucking hormone treatments, which I think is insane. Um, because to me, the reason why I think it's crazy is because like, I cannot, maybe this is a false equivalence and I don't know. I guess I haven't thought about it enough because I typically don't think about children's genitals every fucking day. But like when I'm considering this issue, I'm like, bro, when have we ever thought that children were able to make these types of decisions? Like
right.
if like in society, if you have sex with a kid, you are the most undesirable of all criminals. They will kill you in prison if they found out, right? Why is that? It's because kids are innocent and they don't understand these things and because they are not capable of making those kind of choices. But now we're going to say they're capable of making these types of weird sexualized, like choices about what their gender is. I don't know. It's just very strange to me that like anyone would ever think that this is normal. Like it doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
Like I get it. If you're an adult, you're fully functioning, you're grown, your brain's finished developing, and you have these types of issues, and you want to make these types of changes. Perfect. Go ahead. You have plenty of recourse. But little kids, like a 6-year-old kid,
Well,
when I was 6 years old, I just knew that my dick was there for me to pee out of. Like, I didn't know anything like, I don't even think I knew anything else. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
I don't get how people think about this. It's fucking insane to me.
I
Well,
always
I
look
think
at it as like, you know how when you're like the whole reason we do things like that when, like for kids and as you're raising kids is like don't fuck up your adult lifehood while you're a kid. Don't go and get a bunch of felonies that fuck up getting a job or something, you know. Don't like that's why you can't get tattoos before you're 18, you know. Don't fuck up your life by getting a tattoo when you're in high school and stuff. And it's kind of the same thing that now, but it doesn't apply to this aspect, but it applies to every other aspect of life. You know, don't ruin your future or don't ruin something you don't know because you're not old enough yet by getting a tattoo or, you know, doing stupid stuff by getting in trouble when you're young or not doing these things like going to school. But yeah, it's okay for them to be like, oh, I'm for this stage of my life, I feel weird. So I want to do this thing that permanently changes me, you know? It's like, why is it okay in this one aspect, but not in everything else that we've done throughout the time, you know?
I just feel like kids are little sponges. Like someone had to show you that or tell you that. Like kids don't
Mhm.
just I don't know. I don't know, man. Like I don't remember. I don't like specifically remember like the shit that I was like super into when I was like 5. But I don't know if it was like extremely masculine or extremely feminine. Like I would play with whatever was there, right, or whatever.
G.I.
I
Joe,
wore the clothes that like
Batman.
what I'm saying is like I wore the clothes that like my parents got me, and like I played with the toys my parents got me or what was available. And like I had a sister, so like I'm sure I played with her shit too. I don't think my mom like looked across the room and saw me like with a GI Joe beating up a doll and was like, "Oh man, there goes this crazy white supremacist, you know what I mean, that beating up women," or saw me playing with a couple dolls and said, "Oh, time to consider, gender reassignment. Like he's playing with dolls. Maybe I should put him in a dress." Like I don't understand like where this line of thought even comes from.
Yeah, I mean, it's also granting the most amount of autonomy to a minor that could. I mean, even if you made this decision as an adult, I think a responsible physician would even caution the person that was deciding that as an adult, hey, if you do this, especially like hormone therapy, there could be long-term change, like unforeseen and like unchangeable consequences by, you know, going on hormone therapy to your hormone axes that we don't know about, like that we might discover 10 years from now. And it
Sure.
might not ever be able to be fixed, let alone giving that type of autonomy to a 12-year-old.
Right.
Um, and like, Rand Paul brought this up too in the questioning. He's like, we don't even allow minors to ask for sutures, and we can't give them sutures in an emergency room without permission.
Yeah.
Well, you shouldn't be doing shit to minors, bro, unless their parents are there, right? Like, unless their parents are, and that's where I'm saying it's like I can't think of from where this line of thinking comes from, unless your parents are indoctrinating you as a kid for this kind of stuff. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Mhm.
Kids are kids, dude. They're young kids do all types of shit, bro. They're into all types of things. They're little sponges. They're learning everything. They're still trying to understand the world around them. And I just don't really understand how like a kid rolls out of bed one day and is like, I'm uncomfortable in my gender between 6 and 12. Like that just doesn't compute for me. Um,
Well,
I'm
it's
sure there,
like how you talked about with the parents having to give permission. It's like, well, that's part of the problem. Like the parents will give permission. It's like, yeah, give my kid gender assignment surgery, and they'll boost it up and they'll like promote it. It's like, oh, you feel weird. What about this? And they're like, they'll essentially be so supportive to the point where the kid will be like, oh yeah, let's do it, And then what I think is going to happen is in like 10 or 15 years, you're going to have lawsuits suing parents because that's happened in the past with this type of stuff where like the kids have been able to sue their parents when they become age because they did stuff to them when they were as minors that ruined their like fertility as adults or opportunities as adults so they can't get back anymore because their parents let
yeah,
them do stuff like that. So that's what I'm thinking is going to happen is like it's going to be one of those things where in 10 years from now when all these kids are getting to adulthood and they realize what happened and their conscience is clear and they're fully developed, they're going to be like, even if it was right or wrong, no matter how they feel, they're gonna be like, this is probably fucked up that I was able to do it as a kid.
Yeah. And I think this is like, it's a weird thing that's happening too. And I don't want to say it might be Jonathan Haidt, it might be somebody else, but like I think they're looking into like amongst teenage girls, there's like an increase of like 400% of like where there are cliques of young girls that are in high schools that are experiencing like gender dysphoria, where like it'll be an entire group of them, like they all identify as gender dysphoric. And that, I mean, that would seem to indicate, and it seems I believe it's Hate that's doing this research. I could be wrong, but that there's something going on that we're not um picking up on, and that our kids are mirroring. And like Rob said, like that they've picked up and are mirroring this behavior back, or like this feeling back. And now probably sound like super insensitive talking about it really irrational or rational like that, but I mean that's essentially what they're trying to figure out what is going on, and that's what their best guess is at it right now, because it's just something that's not well studied. Like it's less than 1% of the population accounts for transgender or gender dysphoria, or has a form of gender dysphoria that's even identifiable. So it's just super understudied and researched.
I think
yeah, we've got questions in chat too about whether or not procedures have actually taken place, and they have, man. I mean,
Yeah. Hmm.
there have been people who they're not, I have not heard of any surgical reassignments, but I've definitely heard of hormone blockers being used. So, like, for instance, like you're, I don't know, you're 10 or you're 12 and you haven't hit puberty yet. Um, and basically they just give you these blockers that stop you from developing whatever your secondary sex characteristic is. So, like, if you're a guy, you won't grow a beard. If you're a girl, you won't go grow breasts, etc., things like that. And so they use these hormone blockers, but as Drew was pointing out earlier, we don't really know what like the ramifications of that are. So, like, yeah, like you're not necessarily chopping somebody's genitalia off or mutilating them per se, but we don't know if it's reversible. We don't know if we can go back. Like, I mean, I remember learning about medicine, and in the communities that I was in the military, there was a lot of steroid use, lots of guys using steroids, and this was like one of the most. Everyone was like, dude, and steroids are probably the most studied of any of these things. And people were like, dude, you just don't fuck with that system of your body. The endocrine system in your body is fucking wacky. You put some testosterone in, all of a sudden, you stop making testosterone. Your body just quits. It just doesn't do it anymore. And then you start getting the male breasts, and you got to go on supplements for the rest of your life, stuff like that. So, like, this is it's not a very well understood chain inside the body as it is. And now they're doing it with kids, and it's like, really, why? I just don't. I
Like
don't know.
steroids literally fuck with gene transcription, literally fuck with how your genes transcribe and replicate, like it's a huge factor. And that's what I've heard too, Rob, like, because they don't want to do the mutilation surgery because they're so minor. So they'll do the hormones until they're of age. And then they'll like let them do
Right.
like the full transfer once they become of age. But they'll start doing the hormone stuff in like high school and like start getting into that, like that point. But I don't know. I think it's just, I also think it's like part of like a societal peer pressure, not peer pressure, but like acceptance, fit in, like, oh, I can be part of this group, I could fit in here and I can be part of this out group, and I can feel part of something here because I don't feel comfortable in this environment, and it's the cool thing to do now and stuff like that. I wonder how much that affects people's, like, the people that are falling into this trap if they're just trying to find a place to fit in.
I mean, I think there's probably something to be said that, like, anything that I've ever read about people like this that are, suffering from gender dysphoria, they say, like, from the time that I could remember, I knew that, like, I was a girl, or I knew that I was a guy, right? Like the opposite thing. I don't know what the right answer is, but what I do know is that it affects an extremely small subset of the population. I'm not saying that those aren't people and that we should trivialize them and not care about their problems. I'm just saying we shouldn't advertise this to all kids. Like, I don't, if you put, you're talking about like 0.1% of the whole population, right? So if you put 1 million fucking kids into a classroom, literally you're going to have fucking 10 kids that might suffer from this, 100 kids that might suffer from this. So does that mean that we take the other 999,000 and we tell them all about it and get them all fucking spun up on it? I don't know. I mean, I don't know what the right answer is. But I certainly think that, like, if I'm going to digress and back up, just why I'm making this point is I certainly think that I'm not that smart, but maybe someone who happens to be a transgender doctor who's about to be a healthcare secretary maybe would have an idea about that, right? Maybe they would have an answer to that. I don't know. That's what I would hope.
Yeah, bringing it full
But
circle.
as you can see, I think that there probably isn't an answer for that, because it's a really fucking hard question and it steps on a lot of people's toes. So, and I think that, like, when it comes to this type of stuff, bro, like, you can't just, you have to go through like, probably tons and tons of trials to make sure that someone fits this characteristic, is the right person for this type of procedure, all that stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you
Right.
have to do like interviews and like
Yeah.
longevity type of thing. Like, have you changed your mind over the last 30 to 60 to a year, like, but
And I mean, there's something to be said too with that. I mean, questionnaires, like it's the best. That's like the best way we have right now that we can get information out of people, and you're completely at the mercy of people telling you the truth or telling you what they're actually thinking or how they feel that day. And
Right?
that's
Or
Yeah.
what they
what
feel
we're
like telling
compiling
them.
all this data with, you know. So
Hmm.
that's the problem with
Yeah.
epidemiological studies.
I don't know, man. I don't get it. I don't know where people I don't see how people think that this is advantageous for society or yeah, I mean purely like I said, if the healthcare secretary doesn't have a good answer for it, then any answer I give should be satisfactory. So my answer is don't fucking do it. You know what I
Right?
mean?
Right. Well, I mean, and that's the thing is like ultimately,
I'll
like
fill that vacuum.
I don't care if Rachel Levin's a transgender woman. It's just like I care about the fact that you don't have an opinion or you don't have anything to say about something in a field that you are supposedly an expert in.
And
That's
not
the
only an
reason why
That's
you're
what I
expert,
have a
you
supposed to be
would
problem
think
getting
with.
that
that
they're
job.
passionate about.
Right?
You
Yeah,
know?
and you're supposed to be passionate about. Yeah,
Yeah, like
Yeah.
you would think that this is an important issue to
you've
you, you
you've
know?
devoted your life to this. Like you spent 8 years of your life going to get the specialized training to become a pediatrician, and then like not only that, like residency and like training, and then like teaching at Penn State University, like or yeah, Penn State Medical College. Like obviously you have a passion for it,
And
but
even if it is
Yeah.
nuanced and you were that into it or that interested in it or that much specialized in it, you should at least have some type of quick, you know, something to say. You could at least sum it up or phrase some way to come up with something better than nothing. You should be able to come up with some type of phrase that at least is better than nothing. Politicians do that every day. There's something you could say that's better than just nuanced and we'll talk about it later. Like
Yeah, maybe that was like a threat. Maybe she's like, "I'll come over there and challenge you to an arm wrestling match
yeah.
in your office. I'll
sorry,
show you
going
who's boss, boy."
we
Right.
we already know how well you do against neighbors. Not well.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly, dude. Rand Paul getting his poor little ass whooped by
Yeah.
his fucking neighbor. Oh, that's so funny. I
Hey
forgot about
man,
that.
all I gotta say is she abide by rule number one for a politician. If you're explaining, you're losing.
You're losing. No, it's true, man. God damn it. Well, I don't
Well,
know.
now we're all canceled, so
Yeah.
that's good.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely, dude. And you can cancel me on that one, bro. Protect the youngsters.
Well, it was a good podcast while it lasted. So.
Yeah, maybe next week we can dive a little deeper into more cancel issues.
For
Who
sure.
knows what we'll get into next?
Yep. I think we'll probably end it there unless you guys have anything else you want to add to that.
No, it was a great episode. Thanks,
I
guys.
think it's a good episode.
All right,
Catch you guys
everybody.
next week.
Yep. Thanks for hanging out.
Thanks for tapping in. Peace.
Later.
Thank you for listening to Subtle Propaganda. We hope you guys enjoyed the show. Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow us on our social media. You can find our podcast anywhere podcasts are uploaded, which include our pre and post show. We will be live next week at 7 p.m. Eastern. And don't forget to tell us how wrong we were in the comments. See you next time.